Welcome to another Cipher Symmetry tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at sublines and the use of fonts in Cipher Symmetry. Now sublines are very useful, especially if you need to do some fancy notation like say written formulas. So if we take the formula for water for instance, now what we need to do here, you'd want to probably reduce the size of the 2 and lower it a little bit. So if we simply just clicked on the text and went down here and typed in say 10, you'll see that the change affects everything on the entire line. Now what we want to do is just alter the 2. So to do that, we're just going to draw a red box like this which just overlaps the 2 and only the 2. Now releasing it, you'll see that the 2 is now highlighted in a faint blue. So down here, if we now say adjust this to 6mm, you'll see the 2 has actually resized. Now we need to drop it. So again, now we can just click on the 2 because we've already done the first part of the subline. And down here we're going to adjust its bottom value, which currently, if we look at it, is 21. And we just want to drop it that little bit more, so probably say 23. And there you go, you've got H2O written correctly. If we want another example here, let's change this again to Arial. If I type in Cipher Symmetry, now what we can do with this, we'll reduce it down first to say 8 so it all fits reasonably well. And what we can do, I'm just going to again select part of the word symmetry, and we will adjust the text to times, and we'll also italicize as well. So it's as simple as that really when it comes to adding a subline. And then of course after that, if you want to, you can still move it about, you can still resize it all, and everything will remain in play. So that's sublines. Now on the subject of fonts now, you can see down here, this is the font list which I've been using. There's only about 6 or 7 fonts in here. Now this is referred to as a master font list or a font list of favorite fonts. If you wanted to add fonts just for this project only, you can access from the text menu. You can either import Cipher fonts, which are vectorized fonts specially designed for rotary engraving, which already in some cases will have fills, and some of them will be very specific single line fonts. Or again from the text menu you can select import true type, and you've got then access to all the fonts which are installed on your copy of Windows. Now you would add fonts this way if you just want to use them purely for the project you're working on. If you wanted to have fonts listed in here permanently, to do that we just access Preferences from the File menu. Now here in the middle you can see the master font list. Now the idea behind the master font list is that the font list only contains your most used fonts, so your favorite list of fonts. Because as you can see on a standard Windows install, there can be hundreds if not thousands of different fonts. And since, especially in signage where you probably only use like strict 5% or 10% of these fonts, here's a nice clean way of making sure that you've got access to those fonts without having to sift through them the whole time. So to sort out a master font list, it's relatively simple. If we just start with a blank list for instance, you can see what I mean. Now on the left hand side you've got all of your true type fonts, and on the right you've got all of your Cipher fonts. So it's really as simple as just selecting the fonts that you know you're going to use. And the same with the Cipher fonts. Now, depending on your style of work, if you're a rotary engraver, you might decide that Gothic is probably your #1 font which you're going to use mostly, so we'll just move Gothic to the very first position. You might find that all of the Cipher fonts for that instance will be bumped up first because they engrave just a little bit faster than some of the true types. The only other difference really for rotary engravers is that all the true types when you import them are just going to be the outline glyph only. So you'll need to manually select an island fill to fill those fonts. Whereas the fonts on the right over here, the sans fonts, some of those, as I said before, are specifically single line fonts. Some of them are purely outline fonts. I think Dynamo is an example of that. But then you've got others down here which are really quite fantastic. The 3-line and 6-line Helveticas. Now they're automatically filled with, well, 3 lines and 6-line fill. And the results of those are very quick and fantastic looking on a rotary engraver. Speaking of rotary engravers though, rotary engravers can use either the true types or the soft fonts here. Laser engravers, on the other hand, can only use the true type fonts because all these vector fonts over here will actually cut through the material as opposed to just rastering over the material. So that's the distinction between those two there. So once you've got your font list sorted out, simply click apply and you'll have the changes as you've arranged in here.